I'm sorry that I've been tardy in getting this rant out to you about our recent federal budget that the Trudeau government released back in March, but in all fairness to me, I needed some time. Maybe the right words are to calm down. I'm fairly long in the tooth when it comes to my association and relationship and involvement with the government at, well, pretty much every level. And I do apologize to all those who are fans of our newly elected Prime Minister. Actually, after meeting him on a couple of occasions, I rather like him. And while he may have differing views of many of us, and we may want to buy into some of what he sells, but on the other hand, not so much, I thought he might be different, unique, and I was hoping he actually took the time to understand what's really important today. In fact, it started off great, the appointment of a local, newly elected member of Parliament to be the Minister of Small Business and Tourism. Actually, I admittedly got rather excited about that. Wow. After pushing and pushing our campaign throughout that election, small business, too big to ignore, I thought maybe, just maybe, he saw the tweets or posts and realized, yes, that Chamber of Commerce in Cambridge is right. Small business is too big to ignore. Our federal government publishes statistical information on businesses in Canada every day, and they tell us that there are just over 1.1 million employer businesses in Canada. They also tell us that 98.22% of them are small businesses with as few as one employee and as many as 99. And that 69.7% of all employed persons in Canada work for those small businesses. And guess what? They create almost 80% of all new jobs in Canada. So even if you look at our own government statistics, even they say small business is too big to ignore. However, no government has ever prioritized small business as a vital economic driver. Oh, they tweak things now and again, but they've really never really done anything. Small businesses have struggles many of us just don't understand. The vast majority of them aren't high-tech companies that every government is clamoring over to fund something or another. The vast majority of these small businesses can't do a GoFundMe campaign to find investors. And the owners of these enterprises are not independently wealthy people looking for a tax haven. The overwhelming majority of entrepreneurs have mortgaged their homes. They have worked 12 or 14-hour days. They are stressed out most of the time wondering where the next order will come from. They have the responsibility over their heads of ensuring their employees get a paycheck each week so that they can feed their families too. And if things don't work out for that entrepreneur, and some of you might not realize this, but they can't collect EI like their employees can. They're on their own, and many of them lose everything. And forever, governments have stood up saying these are the great Canadians, telling us they support the entrepreneurial spirit of these small business owners, that they want to help them, inspire them, guard them. Yet no government ever really has. Politicians just love small businesses for a couple of reasons. They just haven't had the time for them because in spite of the fact that they know the statistics, they have continually ignored them, largely because they know they won't get stomped on by them. Because they also know small business owners haven't got the time to protest, lobby, write letters, go to events where they can speak to government officials. And the big one? Small business owners don't have the access to the heavyweight politicians like those big corporate giants have. Small businesses are easy to ignore. And this latest federal budget is a good example. The last government promised to phase in a reduction of small business tax from 11 to 9%. Frankly, there should be no tax on small businesses. Small business owners pay income tax like everyone else. They just pay more because they also have to pay small business tax. Mr. Trudeau campaigned on cutting them immediately. So I can only assume once he found out that his plan was not going to be creating a small deficit but very large deficits, he had to find cuts. And he immediately went after the least squeakiest wheel, small business. Most of the $11 billion in infrastructure spending proposed in the budget 2016 is on things that won't inspire the economy. The one bright spot was $2.26 billion for the innovation sector, but sadly, most of that is going to universities and colleges. That's nice, but unlikely to make a timely appearance into the economy to help people find jobs or secure their employment right now. And one of my biggest worries is the billions and billions and billions and billions that are going to be added to our national debt. Oh, sorry, our children's debt. I've sent my apologies to my kids. You might want to do the same thing. Isn't it funny how every politician campaigns on the fact that the current government is piling on debt and doing so is hurting the next generation? So we buy that and believe they will change the path, and barely after 150 days in office, they start piling on debt for our children to worry about. Is it any wonder why we don't trust them anymore? It's frustrating to me that government continues down the path of getting their advice from institutions or large corporations that have virtually no understanding of Main Street Canada. These big players should have a strong voice. But the best help the government can give them is to make our small businesses more competitive so that they can be the suppliers to those big corporate giants. I'm a free trader. We should be trading with the world. However, we all know what the risks are. Maybe the suppliers to our large and medium-sized employers are coming from offshore. So how do we keep being free traders, yet ensuring jobs are maintained and growing? Well, we make it so our small businesses can compete with offshore suppliers, and that is real progressive governing. No government will truly satisfy the big corporate giants because they can go anywhere they want to make their products or provide their services. And the medium-sized companies in Canada develop partnerships all the time with their peer groups around the world. But our small businesses are always struggling to compete, competing for business and competing for employees. So for this budget, well, there is little to get excited about. Kind of reminds me of that famous story about young boy Oliver standing in line with his bowl in his hand, being refused another bowl of soup, and then turning away and walking with his head down. And that's precisely how small business felt about this budget. Although things seemed bright with the world embracing our new Prime Minister, and in spite of the fact that all the statistical data we have clearly points out that small business is too big to ignore, well, as the famous phrase goes from a Seinfeld episode, no Zoup for you. I'm Greg DeRocher.